Hey guys, what's up? Scottish Duck here once again. Right, 2010 is coming to an end, and that almost rhymes, but that doesn't matter. To finish off 2010, I'm gonna now do my, top 10 list that I said I'd do of my top 10 games this year. Now, keep in mind, these are all my personal picks. If you don't like what you see, make your own list, and also keep in mind that I didn't play every game in a 2010, like a lot of people. But anyway, let's get into it, shall we? Right. Okay, now, number 10. A fairly strange pick for me, okay? Because it's not really one of the 10 best games of 2010, but for some reason I had a hard time picking a number 10. Like these 9 games were stuff that I definitely wanted to put on, but for some reason I had a hard time picking a number 9. So I decided to pick something that's mega underrated that not everyone is going to like, but I just personally want to give a little shout out to. And that game is Fragile Dreams, Farewell Runes to the Moon. I don't know, I just really enjoyed this game, the story, the graphics, the music, it was all done really well. The only thing that this game really sort of fell short on was the gameplay. The combat was incredibly clunky, and yeah, but overall this was a really good experience. I was really pleased that when I finally did pick this up, and I highly recommend it to anyone who's willing to try it out. Not everyone is going to like it, but I personally do give it a big thumbs up. So much so that I do want to put it in my top 10 games of the year list. So, yep. Fragile Dreams, Farewell Runes to the Moon. Awesome. Right. Number 9, we have Heavy Rain. Now, this was a game I waited for years. I'm a big fan of Quantic Dream and David Cage. I've played all their games. Omicron, the Nomad Soul, Fahrenheit, also known as Indigo Prophecy. I love them all, and I really wanted to give this a try. And at the end of the day, it was exactly what I expected, an interactive, story-driven experience that was just quick time, event-driven. If that doesn't sound good to you, fair enough, but it was really good for me to play, and I enjoyed it immensely, I really did. So yeah, definitely one of the best PS3 exclusives of the year. Well done, Quantic Dream. I enjoyed it a lot, and that's my 9th favourite game this year. Right. Number 8. It was this one. Okay, number 8. Another game I waited for years. Bayonetta. Now, this was made by Hideki Kamiya of Platinum Games. What was his last name, you ask? What was his last game, you ask? Okami. Alright. And yeah, it was just it was the best, hack and slasher of the year. I had a hard time picking between this and God of War 3, as my favourite hack and slasher. And God of War 3, for as fantastic as it is a bit of a popcorn game, The novelty of it did kind of wear off, a while after I'd beaten it. Even though when I was playing it for the first time, I was like, Game of the Year. Game of the Year. It was it really did have that sort of impression on me. But in the long run, I think Bayonetta was the overall better experience. Just fantastic gameplay. I just really enjoyed this game. You guys got to pick it up if you get the chance. So yeah, good show. Platinum Games. Bayonetta, number 8. Okay, number 7. No More Heroes 2: Desperate Struggle. I was a big fan of the first No More Heroes game, and when I first played this, I didn't think it really well, it was just a little bit worse, really. But now that I've had the time to look back, this actually is a better game. It's got better combat, it's got more fucked up characters and a better storyline and all that. And yeah, overall, a much a really good sequel, really. Yeah, not much else to say on it, but yep, good show. Suda51, number 7 for on my Game of the Year's list. No More Heroes 2, Desperate Struggle. Right. Number 6. Fairly underrated game, this one, and I'm surprised. What am I surprised at? Oh, well, anyway. Resonance of Fate. This is what I'm quite surprised at. I'm surprised I actually like this game, because it's made by Tri-Ace, and even though I do enjoy quite a few of Tri-Ace's games, nothing's really, blown me away. Like Star Ocean 4, I got that for the PS3 this year as well, since, it came out this year. And that was really good. I enjoyed that version a lot. But this one really blew it out of the water, you know. They weren't working with Square Enix tries, they were working with Sega, which was a kind of a different course of action for them because they usually work with Square Enix. But overall, I think they made a much better game. I got really into this. I played it for like over 60 hours. I did most of the side quests, and yeah, I really love the combat. It was the best. It's just one of the greatest RPGs I've played this generation. It really is. And guys, seriously, you really should pick this up. It is really hard to get your finger around. You've really got to put in the effort to, you know, understand the combat and all that. It's a bit of a steep learning curve, but once you do get past it, the rewards are excellent. Fantastic game. Number 6, Resonance of Fate. Okay, now number 5. Now, out of all the games on this list, this one right here is the one that I want to tell you all to go out and buy. You know, if you're gonna take one message from this video, and you know you're gonna only play one game, just play this one. Even though it's not number 1, I definitely feel this is a game that everybody should play. Sin and Punishment 2: Successor of the Sky. Now, this is at heart a rail shooter. You know, there's a bit more to it than that since you've also got a character to move around. But it is one of the most well executed games I've ever played. The difficulty curve is perfect. Never gets too easy, never gets too hard, will always keep you wanting more. You know, the challenges, it goes up really perfectly. It never gets old with its variety. You know, there's so many different ways to shoot things in this game. It's incredible. And yeah, I was just so incredibly surprised by how great this game was. You know, without a doubt, one of my favourite Wii games of the year. Seriously. In fact, it probably is my favourite Wii game. Well, there's something else on this list, but I'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, guys, seriously, I love this game to death. Try it out if you get the chance. It is fantastic. Treasure, you are awesome for making this game. Congratulations. Number 4, Sin and Punishment 2: Successor of the Skies. Okay, now, 4th game. Okay, now, this is a personal list, right, as I've said at the beginning of this video, rather. But if I had to pick a game that I think deserved Game of the Year for 2010, you know, it definitely would be this one. This one, to me, is Game of the Year. Even though it's not my personal pick, I think it deserves Game of the Year. That is Mass Effect 2. Now, I've said before, Mass Effect 1, I did like it, but it didn't leave a big impression on me for some reason. I don't know, I think I was playing other stuff at the time. Well, that was when it came out around the time Ratchet and Clank Tales of Destruction and Super Mario Galaxy came out, so I guess that's understandable. But I picked this up months after it came out, thinking, like, I'm just going to have the same deal with this game as I was the first one. Oh, how I was so wrong. This game, it really is one of the most epic things ever. And the story is just, it's a lot more engrossing, I feel. You know, this first one was engrossing, but this one just blows it out of the water, really. Yeah, I can't stress it enough. This really is Game of the Year right here in my eyes. Seriously. It's coming to the PS3 next year, and I may very well pick that version up brand new because I actually bought this used, and I feel kind of bad. I don't know, but either way, Mass Effect 2, fantastic game. Okay. Right, we are now in the top 3, and you may or may not notice a pattern here. Okay. Anyway, number 3 we have Phantasy Star Portable 2. Now, I went through sort of a Phantasy Star phase in 2010. You know, I was into the series a few years prior, but only the old school Mega Drive games. You know, the traditional RPGs. I didn't give these online games, you know, really that much of a thought. But that all changed when I finally decided to pop in Phantasy Star Online for the Dreamcast and play it for a few hours, and I got hooked. And there was a lot of these games. There's Phantasy Star Universe, Phantasy Star Portable 1, and I played them all back to back. And these games are quite critically, what's the word? Like, every reviewer out there tends to point out that they're always repetitive and they don't really change much to the formula. I don't care. I got into them all incredibly. And this one is definitely one of the better executed, in my opinion. You know, the story was really good. The combat was a lot more refined. Was a lot more fun to do. And the online was for free. This was actually my first time playing online with a Phantasy Star game. It was free and it was simple, and I had an awful lot of fun with it. And yeah, to say this is, I really cannot put this. I really could not put this high on the list. I really enjoyed it. I think it is my favourite Phantasy Star game in the online series anyway. I know a lot of people would wonder why I'm putting it over Phantasy Star Online, but I never got to play that online because I didn't play it until this year. But I got to play this online and it was fantastic. So yeah, Phantasy Star Portable 2, best handheld game I got this year. Yeah, absolutely adore it. Okay, now number 2. This one goes on here, even though this is an awesome game. I guess the reason it is this high on the list is purely a personal thing, but yeah, anyway. Sonic Colors. Now, I love this game to death. But ultimately, I'm just really happy that it even exists, you know. The fact that Sega, after a decade, could come out with a 3D Sonic game, and not only was this 3D Sonic game, you know, something that I personally enjoyed, but everyone else personally enjoyed, professional viewers and everybody liked it. It kind of blew my mind, I'm not gonna lie. The possibility just seemed so inconceivable at the time, but sure enough it happened and we got our great Sonic game, and it still makes me happy to this day that it even exists. So yeah, Sonic Colors, it's this high purely because of how much it means to me, really. I'm not saying that it doesn't deserve to be on this list. This would definitely be in the top 10 regardless, because it is an awesome game. But yeah, regardless, it's my list. Yeah, love this game to death. Seriously, guys, if you've been... yeah, whatever. Okay, and the last game. My personal pick for Game of the Year in 2010 is, a lot of you could probably see this coming actually, Yakuza 3 for the PS3. Now, I got into Yakuza at the beginning of 2010 as well. You know, I played the first 3 games back to back as well. And everyone was always telling me, you know, Scottish Duck, you're such a big fan of Shenmue, you should really try out Yakuza. That's sort of the spiritual successor to Shenmue. And sure enough it is actually, I do agree with that statement. Now, is this number 1 purely because of it's the successor to Shenmue? Partially. I'm not going to say it's like has nothing to do with it. But there is a lot to this game that Shenmue doesn't offer. For example, I think the combat is actually a lot more fun in this, a lot more in-depth. And the storyline, it's a bit more mature, obviously. And it's just as epic as Shenmue, it really is, you know. And what else? Yeah, it does maintain the whole sort of sandbox feel gameplay, but putting an emphasis on detail in the environments rather than scale, and in my opinion that's it benefits as a result. But yeah, regardless, this is without a doubt my Game of the Year 2010, and I cannot wait for Yakuza 4 to come out next year, which should be around springtime, but yeah, it may very well, I think it's going to surpass this really, you know, considering what we've heard of it. But yeah, right, and those are my picks for my personal top 10 games of the year. Okay then. Yeah, that's that, guys. See you after. Thank you for watching. Have a happy new year. Bye bye.